This is a sad, sad day for America. Our president is an employee of Russia. I have absolute proof that the president, this is at the beginning. You're about to hear the greatest speech you've ever heard. You horrible human being, you better start listening to me because you're going to get your ass whooped. Did you see what's going on? And it rains, and it's filth, and it's needles, and it's drugs, and it's you-know-what. Have you seen my polls in the last 4 weeks? The newspaper polls are more fake than the news they write. They write fake polls. We won't talk about homes, even though your homes are nice here. We won't talk about jobs. You see the jobs report? I don't care about the rich ones. I care about everybody. I care about everybody, actually. Or if you're poor, you go home and you die. Why do I always look so orange? Trump with the toilets. Remember the dishwasher? You'd press it, boom, there'd be like an explosion. 5 minutes later, you open it up, the steam pours out, the dishes. Now you press it 12 times. Women tell me, again, you know, they give you 4 drops of water. Over here in Battle Creek, where's your nearest dump? Oh, I'm a great salesman. Any guy that does that, they're no good. The globalists are passé. How badly was flipped? Who was all of your Congress people, men, wonderful people? They're at a place called Congress right now. Oh, I think we have a vote coming in. So we got every single Republican voted for us. Whoa. Whoa. Wow. Is she okay? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Come back. Thank you. Merry Christmas is true. I'm not worried. I'm not worried. They look like a bunch of fools. They'll receive a big backlash at the box office. Remember this. What did I do? What did I do? They don't even have any crime. This is the first impeachment where there's no crime. 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 I feel guilty. I would like to apologize. I would like to apologize. No. We don't apologize. He used to kiss my ass, Chuck Schiff. He'd do anything. He would have done anything for me. I didn't think I asked him. Get Schumer on the phone. You do this, you do that. You get him on the phone. That's it. Now it's like, the president is not acting. Give me a break. I don't know about you, but I'm having a good time. It's crazy. By the way, it doesn't really feel like we're being impeached. They've been trying to impeach me from before I ran. The Washington swamp. They don't care anything to get rid of us. Not me, us. It's us. And that includes ICE. They're the ones that should be impeached, every one of them. You know, in the life of Trump, 10 months is an eternity. I could have a much easier life. Probably 10 years ago, I was honored. I was the Man of the Year by, I think, somebody, whoever. I was happy. I had a beautiful life. What the hell did I do this for? First Lady, you're so lucky I took you on this journey. Oh, yeah. Mayor Pete, I've had you up to here, Mayor Pete. Buttigieg. Buttigieg. It's an unpronounceable name. Germany likes Obama. I could be loved in Germany. I could be loved in Germany. They'd like me so much. We just approved 171 Supreme Court justices. I don't know what a Supreme Court judge does. Without good defense, maybe we don't need judges so much, right? Oh, there's my guy. Are you the greatest guy? You look handsome, don't worry about it. I've never loved anyone like you. You could. We're gonna recruit you. I think you could handle yourself. Thank you. I don't even know who the hell he is that right? I don't know him, but I like him. I actually used to like the guy. He was a nice guy to me, but now I don't like him so much, but that's okay. I don't care where I am. If I'm up there, if I'm down here, I don't know. She said he doesn't know where he is. That's the other problem. Okay, that's enough of that. That's enough. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. Thanks a lot, great job. Sayonara, bye.
what happens now that Trump has been impeached. The House has the power to impeach him. The Senate has the power to remove him. Those are two separate processes, and that's laid out in the Constitution. Once the House impeaches the president, the process moves to the Senate, where they hold a trial and decide to either acquit him or remove him from office. 2/3 of the Senate needs to vote for that. That means 67 senators. It's not likely to happen since Republicans have a majority in the Senate. It would require 20 Republicans voting along with all 47 Democrats in favor of removing Trump from office. But regardless of what happens in the Senate, impeachment is done and final. Bill Clinton was impeached but acquitted by the Senate, and that's why he stayed in office. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is very vocal about supporting the president, even to the point where he could be violating his oath of office, because by the Constitution, the Senate is supposed to hold a fair and impartial trial after impeachment. No president in America's 243-year history has been removed from office through this process. Only 3 have ever been impeached. If you're wondering about Richard Nixon, he actually resigned from the presidency before the impeachment process could fully run its course. If he were removed from office, he wouldn't be able to run again. Here's one way to look at it. We know that Trump probably isn't going to be removed from office, but it's the Senate Republicans who are on trial too. Every Republican senator will have to go on the record about whether or not they support Trump's behavior, specifically 2 articles that the House impeached him for. 1, abuse of power in the form of pressuring a foreign government to investigate his political rivals by withholding crucial military assistance from them. And 2, obstruction of Congress, because at every stage of this process, Trump refused to cooperate. We'll see if Republicans like Mitt Romney mean it when they voice their disagreements with Trump, or if they just want to hide behind their Twitter feeds. We've already seen this play out in the House. All of the Republicans voted against impeaching Trump, meaning they're on the record saying that they believe his behavior is okay. Many of them are not running for re-election. Mark Meadows, one of the president's most ardent supporters in the House, announced that he's not running for re-election just after he voted. Impeachment is also important because it means we have accountability. That's something my generation hasn't seen a lot of in our lifetimes when it comes to the most powerful people in the country, especially not for the last 3 years. Millennials have lived through the war in Iraq, where there was no accountability, the war in Afghanistan, which is still happening, the 2008 financial crisis, where no one went to jail, and not 1, but 2 elections where the person who won the popular vote was not the one who ended up ascending to the presidency. It's understandable for people to not have a lot of faith in government, but impeachment means the House is paying attention and they have formally condemned Trump for his behavior. That matters because it means we don't live in a monarchy, at least not for now. And it's a message to Trump that he can't actually get away with everything, no matter what he thinks. One important point is that while all of this has been going on, Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, the person who led the pressure campaign on Ukraine, has still been flying to Ukraine in order to meet with shady characters and try to find dirt on the Bidens. So while Trump has been impeached for abuses of power, his lawyer is helping him commit more abuses of power, and he says he's doing it with Trump's approval. So imagine if the House handed him a blank check to do whatever he wants to do for the next year. Impeachment shows that activism works. It wasn't always a foregone conclusion that Democrats were going to go through with it. In fact, there was a good chunk of time where it didn't seem like it was going to happen. But there was long and sustained pressure from a lot of activists and constituents showing up to town halls and asking their members of Congress where they stood on the issue. That was a factor in a lot of yes votes. Finally, impeachment is a reminder. It's a reminder that elections have consequences. None of this would have happened if the Democrats hadn't won a majority in the House in the 2018 midterm elections. There would have been no investigations. Impeachment wouldn't have been brought to the floor, and accountability wouldn't have happened. Republicans would have continued to run interference for Trump and his many, many entanglements with actual criminals. So remember this: Trump is the first president to be impeached in his first term in office. That means he's the first impeached president to run for re-election. So come November 2020, American voters are going to have their own chance to either acquit him or remove him from office. Impeachment matters. The rest is up to you.
They're noisy. They kill the birds. You want to see a bird graveyard? You just go. Take a look. I never understood wind, and I know windmills very much. I've studied it better than anybody. I know it's very expensive. They're made in China and Germany mostly. Very few made here, almost none. But they're manufactured tremendous, if you're into this, tremendous fumes, gases are spewing into the atmosphere. You know, we have a world, right? So the world is tiny compared to the universe. So tremendous amount of fumes and everything. You talk about the carbon footprint, fumes are spewing into the air, right? Spewing. Whether it's in China, Germany, it's going into the air, it's our air, their air, everything, right? So they make these things, and then they put them up. And if you own a house within vision of some of these monsters, your house is worth 50% of the price. They're noisy. They kill the birds. You want to see a bird graveyard? You just go. Take a look. A bird graveyard? Go under a windmill someday. You'll see more birds than you've ever seen ever in your life. You know, in California, they were killing the bald eagle. If you shoot a bald eagle, they want to put you in jail for 10 years. A windmill will kill many bald eagles. It's true. And you know what? After a certain number, they make you turn the windmill off. That's true, by the way. They make you turn it off after you. And yet, if you killed one, they put you in jail. That's okay. But why is it okay for these windmills to destroy the bird population? And that's what they're doing. Okay. This is a conservative group, Dan. No, but it's true. Am I right? I'll tell you another thing about windmills. And look, I like all forms of energy. And I think really they're okay in industrial areas, like you have an industrial plant, you put up a windmill, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen the most beautiful fields, farms, fields, most gorgeous things you've ever seen. And then you have these ugly things going up. And sometimes they're made by different companies. I'm like a perfectionist. I really built good stuff. And so you'll see like a few windmills made by one company, General Electric. And then you'll see a few made by Siemens. And you'll see a few made by some other guy that doesn't have 10 cents. It looks like a. So you see all these windmills. They're all different shades of color. They're like sort of white, but one's like an orange white. It's my favorite color, orange.
Put your hand down for a second, Bernie, okay?
Just waving to you, Joe.
I know.
Saying hello.
I know.
I know what you're thinking, America. How am I still on this stage with them?
And I have never even been to a wine cave. I've been to the Wind Cave in South Dakota, which I suggest you go to.
Senator Sanders, you are the oldest candidate on stage this evening.
And I'm white as well. Yes.
How do you answer top economists who say taxes of this magnitude would stifle growth and investment?
Oh, they're just wrong.
Mr. Yang, what more?
I'm over here.
Mr. Yang, what more can you say
Judy.
to the American people?
Judy,
I'm sorry, Mr. Steyer. I'm sorry.
What James Madison once said when he was speaking out at the Constitutional Convention, and by the way, I think he's a pretty good size for a president. He was 5'4". And what he said—
I'm on the record saying that you need both strong men and female leaders in government, because the fact is, if you get too many men alone and leave us alone for a while, we kind of become morons.
And I think that we should build on the Affordable Care Act.
She mentioned
Senator Klobuchar, Senator Warren, we would like to bring you in.
She took my name in vain.
Oh.
She hurt my feelings.
Never
I am crushed. Can I respond?
Never.
And he also said, quote, "If you look at the world and look at the problems, it's usually old people, usually old men, not getting out of the way." Vice President Biden, I'm going to guess that President Obama did not clear that remark through your campaign ahead of time.
And
What
I'm going
do
to
you
guess.
say to him?
And I'm going to guess he wasn't talking about me either.
Okay. Senator Warren, you would be the oldest president ever inaugurated. I'd like you to weigh in as well.
I'd also be the youngest woman ever inaugurated.
start with you, Mr. Yang.
Wow.
Thank you. Gosh.
We could do a labor action and just all go on strike on this one, Andrew.
We have not had enough women in our government. When I was on Trevor Noah's show once, I explained how in the history of the Senate there was something like 2,000 men and only 50 women in the whole history. And he said if a nightclub had numbers that bad, they would shut it down. However,
Now, there's a real competition going on up here. My good friend Joe, and he is a good friend, he's received contributions from 44 billionaires. Pete, on the other hand, is trailing, Pete. You only got 39 billionaires contributing. So, Pete, we look forward to you. I know you're an energetic guy and a competitive guy to see if you can take on Joe on that issue. But what is not...
If elected, you would turn 82 at the end of your first term. You'd be the oldest president in American history.
Like Winston Churchill.
Are you willing to commit American history?
Oh, Americans.
Yes. Are you?
I was joking. That was a joke.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Politico doesn't have much of a sense of humor.
Oh, we've got a great sense of humor. They wouldn't have put me on stage otherwise.
I've listened carefully to my colleagues for the last 8 hours, and I have to say, it's been hard for me to follow. But it amounts, I think, when you cut through it all, when you cut through all the sound and the fury, signifying nothing, what it really amounts to is this: why should we care? Madam Speaker, my colleagues, after 8 hours, let us return to where we began with the articles themselves. Article 1 charges the President of the United States with abusing the power of his office by coercing an ally into cheating in a U.S. election on his behalf. It charges the President of the United States. It charges the...
Be in order. The gentleman has a right to be heard.
It charges the President of the United States.
The gentleman shall suspend. Gentleman may resume.
It charges the President of the United States with abusing his power by withholding official acts, by withholding a White House meeting that the President of Ukraine desperately sought to establish the support of his most important benefactor, the United States, by withholding hundreds of millions of dollars of military aid to a nation at war in order to get that nation to intervene in our election by smearing his opponent. That is the gravamen of the charge in Article 1. And what is the defense from my colleagues? Now, I've listened carefully to my colleagues for the last 8 hours, and I have to say, it's been hard for me to follow. But it amounts, I think, when you cut through it all, when you cut through all the sound and the fury, signifying nothing, what it really amounts to is this: why should we care? Why should we care about what the President did to Ukraine? Well, first of all, we should care about our allies. We should care about Ukraine. We should care about a country struggling to be free and a democracy. We used to care about democracy. We used to care about our allies. We used to stand up to Putin and Russia. We used to. I know the party of Ronald Reagan used to. Why should we care about Ukraine? But of course, it's about more than Ukraine. It's about us. It's about our national security. Their fight is our fight. Their defense is our defense. When Russia remakes the map of Europe for the first time since World War II by dint of military force, and Ukraine fights back, it is our fight too. And when the President sacrifices our interests, our national security for his election, he is sacrificing our country for his personal gain. That is the gravamen of Article 1. Article 2 Article 2 charges the President of the United States with obstructing the Congress, with denying the Congress any witness, any document, by telling all of his administration people, you will not appear. You will ignore a co-equal branch of government. And what is the defense to this from my colleagues? Again, it is, why should we care? He is the president of our party. Why should we care if he ignores this Congress? Well, I remind my friends that he will not be the last president. There will be another president. And you may be one day, although you do not act like it, you may one day be in the majority. And you will want to hold a president accountable. And what will you say when that president says, you are a paper tiger, you have no oversight, I can ignore your subpoenas? What will you say? What will you argue? Well, no, that was different. Then we were in the minority. Then it was a Republican president. Will that be your argument? Is that how little faith you have in our democracy, in our Constitution? Is that how poorly you defend and uphold that Constitution? But finally, let me ask this question that overrides it all. Why should we care about any of this? And I will bring you to one conversation that came to light, because it's not the most important conversation, but in many ways, it is the most revealing. It took place on September 14th in Ukraine, when Ambassador Volker sat down with Andrei Yermak, the top advisor to Zelensky. And he did what he should do. He supported the rule of law, and he said, you, President, you, Andrei Yermak, should not investigate the last president, President Poroshenko, for political reasons. You should not engage in political investigations. And you know what Yermak said? Oh, you mean like you want us to do with the Bidens and the Clintons? And in that abrupt, brutal retort, we see why we should care. Because what he was saying is, you, America, have forgotten what it means to uphold the rule of law. You have forgotten what it means to say that no one is above the law. We are a struggling democracy, but even we know better than that. What is at risk here? What is at risk here is the very idea of America. That idea holds that we are a nation of laws, not of men. We are a nation that believes in a rule of law. When we say we uphold the Constitution, we're not talking about a piece of parchment. We're talking about a beautiful architecture in which ambition is set against ambition, in which no branch of government can dominate another. That is what it means to uphold the Constitution. If you ignore it, if you say the president may refuse to comply, may refuse lawful process, may coerce an ally, may cheat in an election because he's the president of our party, you do not uphold our Constitution. You do not uphold your oath of office. Well, I will tell you this, I will uphold mine. I will vote to impeach Donald Trump. I yield back.